Hi everybody, and welcome back to Smart Home Improvement People today. So, what I thought I'd do today is speak about a subject that, to be honest, a lot of people nowadays don't like to speak about, and that's to do with solar panels and are they really worth it when it comes to your home in the UK? So that's the question because solar's been around for a long time. I remember when I first started in solar, which would have been what about 2010 when it was like about 42p a unit. And I can remember back then units were being sold, 4 kilowatt units for about around about 20, 30 grand. Okay. When it was really expensive. There's no hiding from that. It was. Okay. But with technology and as the feed-in tariff came down, obviously the cost of solar came down. Okay. So the question is it worth it? And there's two ways to look at it. First way you can look at it is, are you doing it because you want to reduce your energy bills? Okay, you may want to go a bit greener, or maybe you want to save the planet. Okay, and you want to do it to save the planet. Okay, now for all those people that are going to say, "Oh, just leave it to the people that are going to want to save the planet," and this is the reality. Now, I've worked in and out of the solar industry for over 15 years. Okay. I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of people on the telephone, spoken to them on the doors, spoken to them on, as an indoor demonstrator, them annoying people that stop you in shopping centres and all of that, and speak to you about that. I've even done that. Okay. And when it comes to all of those people I've spoken to over the years, exactly zero have gone into solar because they want to save the planet. So we can get away from that one straight away. Nobody goes into solar because they want to save the planet. And anybody who thinks that is mad because they don't do it for that reason. They do it for one reason only: money. Because as the old saying goes, money makes the world go round. Okay. And with how expensive electricity is nowadays, I don't really see any energy company saying, I know what I'll do this year. I'm going to reduce all of my customers' electricity bills. Okay, because they keep on moaning at me. CEO of Southern Electric or British Gas or whoever, say, I actually really feel sorry for them. I'm going to do them all a favour this year. I'm going to reduce their energy bills by, let's say, for instance, do what Keir Starmer said. We're going to reduce them by 300 quid because I'm that nice. Now, we both know that's me being a smart ass and come out of a sarcastic comment. It's not going to happen. Okay. So the reality is, you've got one choice is making sure you turn off all the plugs and arguably turn absolutely everything off when you're not using it, which most people don't do, especially if you have kids. I know what my kids are like. They're always leaving their TVs on, their computers on, the lights on. I spend half my time going around the house switching everything off after them. Okay, because that's what they do, and we all know what kids are like at the end of the day. So that's one option. Okay, now the other option is you actually look at going into solar because the reality is the average household. Okay, so you have on average in the UK, most people have a three-bedroom house. Unless they're lucky and they may be in a flat and they've only got maybe one kid. Okay, and if you look at electricity bills, as of 2025, the average household electricity bill on a monthly basis was around about £120. It ranged from about 80 to 120. So we'll go with the 120 figure. Okay, because that sounds about right. Now, if you're using 120 quid That's a lot of money. And it's dead money at the end of the day. It is dead. That's going straight to your energy provider, even before you think about the gas. Okay. And this is the one thing I always think about. Okay, because I do actually have solar panels myself. Now, I live in a house which is housing association. It's a new build house, even though it's about 7 years old, the house that I live in. Okay, and we have 4 solar panels on our roof. Okay, south facing roof. Okay, so it's pretty much perfect. It's not exactly south. Okay, but it's near on south. So the thing is, I would always say to people, because I can say this from first hand knowledge, because I can look at my energy bill, and we're with British Gas, okay, that as soon as we get to around about April, maybe May time, my energy bill's going straight down because them solar panels are kicking into gear like nothing else on this earth. And I don't really worry about my energy bill arguably into about October. And then I start panicking about all the electricity because I've got 5 kids in the house, plus I've got my wife as well. Okay, all of them burning electricity like nothing else on this earth. So, from that point of view, I would always advise everybody to get solar panels because they will save you money. And when women come out of this argument, and this always used to happen, and I can say this from spending years on the phones and everything, okay, and like I said, I've spoken to thousands of people about solar. Women that aren't keen on it, and you can call me sexist, I don't mind. Okay, I'm a big boy, I can cope with that. Is women would always say, "Oh, I don't like the sight of them on my roof." Okay, how often do you look up on your roof? What do you do? Go into your back garden and look at my roof. Don't it look sexy? And the reality is nobody looks on that roof. Unless you're sad and pathetic like me, who's somebody that's worked in the solar industry for many years, and you're pro. It's no different for when I've worked in double glazing. You're always looking at people's windows and everything. It's just a force of habit of something that you always do. You know, not for any ridiculous or criminal reason. You just have a habit. Trying to identify what manufacturer made people's windows. You do the same when it comes to solar. So when it comes to it, are there other reasons to get solar apart from the obvious of reducing your energy bills? Now, the only other, well, there's 2 other reasons. One, there's an allegation, and there's not much evidence. There's a bit of evidence to back it up, but there's not a great deal of evidence. But says if you put solar on your roof, if you decide at some stage in the future that it will add value to your house and it'll make it easier to sell your house. Now, me personally, I don't buy into the argument of it make it easier to sell your house. I don't. Okay, I'm not about to tell people that I believe it and I buy into it because I don't. Do I believe it could potentially put that value on your house? Yeah, I'd buy into that argument. Okay, but not that it make it simpler and easier to actually sell your house. I think there is an argument it could in some ways make it difficult because there are people out there that don't like solar. Okay, there's no hiding from that. That's factually true. So, like some people like conservatories, others like extensions. It's each to their own at the end of the day. Now, the other argument for solar, okay, if you really want to go down the renewable energy route, okay, and you want to be in the position, I don't really want to be paying for electricity, but I also don't want to be paying for gas. Okay, and I know what you're going to be thinking. He's going to be talking about heat pumps. And that is what I'm going to mention. Because if you're going to consider getting a heat pump, okay, and apply for the grant, which is what, about 7 grand, 7.5 grand roughly. Okay, even though it's going to cost you more money on top, I would always, and I mean this, always advise people to get solar. Because at the end of the day, that heat pump, even though it's not going to be using gas, it's going to be using electricity. So if you're going to go down the route of saying, oh, I'm more into my renewables and everything, you've got a heat pump, you're not really, because you're still using electricity, and odds are your electricity is going to be made via at a power station via oil at the end of the day, or coal, whatever. Okay, so if you really want to go down that route, I would advise you to invest in solar and do both of them at the same time and get your battery storage as well. Now, the reality is, how much is it going to cost? Now, when it comes to solar, it's a hard one to actually say, you know, without seeing how big the installation is going to be. Okay, it is difficult to say how much exactly you're looking. Now, the one thing I will say, you're looking at anywhere between 5.5 to 8.5 grand. Okay, that's for a 45 kilowatt unit. Okay, general payback is generally said 6 to 11 years. That's the general rule of thumb. Obviously, that can vary on how much electricity you actually use at the end of the day and based on the size of your household. You know, obviously, if you do get solar, obviously get the battery storage, which is going to put the price up slightly a bit more. The other thing is, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but you're talking about 5.5 to 8.5 grand. That's a big difference. And the main reason there is a difference, and it's a bit like the old classic cliche that always used to go around, where with the old saying, you get what you pay for. So it's like I remember in my first sales job, I worked in packaging. Okay, and we used to manufacture the bags for, you know, the likes of Gordon Ramsay Holdings, which is Gordon Ramsay Restaurants, Scott's Bar, and all those types of places. I remember we did the Orient Express. I'm trying to remember now. Ascot Mayfair, you know, all those types of places, you know, famous names that everybody going to hear of. Okay. Now, the thing was, if we went and manufactured in China, that's just next to nothing. I think it was like 50p per five. Yeah, 50p per bag if we did an order of 5,000. We ordered in, we did it in Europe, which was in Poland. It was like 3 times the price. We did it in the UK, it's like 4 to 5 times the price. And the reason I say this is the better panels, okay, it's no difference to the analogy of Ford Fiesta or Ferrari. Okay, if you want the top notch and the best, you're going to be buying from Europe, probably Germany, German panels, or arguably North American. Okay, where if you want cheaper and you're going to go at the lower end, you're going to be going to China. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you've got a lower budget, okay, as much as I ain't going to like to say it, you are going to find that you're going to be getting a lesser performing panel, and it is going to be coming from China. Okay, if you want the best of the best, you know, and panels that perform a lot better, like is it sunflower, sun power, yeah, sun power, okay, which if I remember rightly are American, but I think they used to be made in Germany, if I remember rightly. You know, they're going to cost a lot more. They're one of the best panels in the world, especially for our climate. So you get what you pay for at the end of the day. So you're going to be paying the higher end and going to have to set a bigger budget at the end of the day. So I hope this helps everybody out. Okay. You know, my personal opinion, people will always be better off with solar. But like anything, it's personal choice. Okay. If you don't want to reduce your energy bills, if you're happy with paying what you pay at the end of the day, don't get solar. It's simple as that. You don't have to. It's your choice at the end of the day. But the reality is, if you want to find a way of reducing your energy bills and you don't want to be paying whopping great bills and our bills are going up every year, that's your alternative. And there are not many other alternatives because unfortunately the CEOs of the likes of Southern Electric, British Gas, EDF, E.ON, you know, you could run them all off. I'm not going to be reducing our energy bills, and certainly our government aren't going to get our energy bills reduced. So those are your options. Okay, I hope this helps everybody out. Hope I haven't been seen too confrontational as well. If you're new to the channel, if you could please subscribe, I would appreciate it. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you again a bit later.